We appreciate you all being here tonight for this information forum. It's been proposed by a group in Pickens County that Pickens County grant to seniors who are property owners additional exemptions from the property taxes that pay for our schools. So the topic of this information forum is our public schools and Pickens County property taxes that pay for them. To provide this information, we've invited as our speakers the officials who are very well informed on the details of both property taxes and our public schools. Pickens County Tax Assessor Roy Dobbs and Pickens County Superintendent of Schools Dr. Carlton Wilson. These speakers together probably will answer all of your questions, so we'll hold questions from you, the audience, until both have spoken. Then we'll take your questions, which can be addressed to either of our speakers. Now on the table up here, on this corner, are cards that you can use to write down any questions that occur to you as you listen to the speakers, so you'll be sure to ask them later. Again, thank you for coming out tonight, and we'll begin. Anybody need to get any cards before we start?
Please.
There's some pens there too if you need them.
Thank you. Anybody else? Thank you.
All right, our first speaker is going to be Roy Dobbs, Pickens County Tax Assessor.
Thank you, Dave. Well, I feel kind of out of place. I showed up to the Democratic Party meeting with a Trump sticker on my car, but I told them to give that disclaimer right up front.
Good.
This is going to be kind of like going to school. Every time you go to school, they tell you, here's the history of this, this is what we've done, this is where we're at. So what I'm going to attempt to do, we put together a PowerPoint presentation to tell you how we formulated what we currently have, how the process went through, and what we've got today. Because that's one of the biggest problems that we find is disinformation that people get. You don't work at this job 5 days a week all year long. You're just a homeowner, okay? You'd be surprised people around the state that deal with this all the time, they're still confused by it. So what we're going to try to do is explain it to you in a way that you can digest and understand. Then when we get through all this, then the debate will go forward. Well, if we don't like what we've got, what would we do different and what would the ramifications be? Don't worry, when we put slides up here and you cannot read the text, I'm putting it up here primarily so you'll know that that text exists. It's available to you. I'm not wanting you to memorize 3 to 4 pages of legislation. I just want to tell you what the number is and what it accomplished that we're dealing with today. So don't let fuzziness on a slide or the fact that you can't read it mess you up, because I'm going to try to get the points across to you. The other thing that we've done, if we're ever on a slide and you hear me talking about it, or if you can actually read it and you've got questions about it, write down the slide number. And then later on, I'm not going to run off when this is over. Later on, if you've got a question, we'll go back and pull that slide up. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. I'm going to start. Stephanie, let's go with number 2.
Stephanie, can you put it on slideshow so it gets a little bigger?
What this represents is the minutes from the Pickens County Tax Study Committee, December 2nd, 1996. There were a group of people put together by elected representatives, school board, county governing authority, the tax commissioner, and I'll show you the people that were on the committee in just a slide or two. But they came together because Pickens County was growing. And they were talking about several different topics. They were talking about business license and things like that, other ways to create revenue for a growing county. But what we're here to talk about tonight is a result of that committee's recommendations. We had 3 new changes in our exemptions for homesteaded properties in Pickens County, Georgia. Okay? Stephanie, if you could take me to the recommendation number 4. I think y'all can read this, but I'm going to read it word for word. Recommendation number 4. The committee recommends that citizens over the age of 62, back then 62 was old, should receive an increased exemption from county and school taxes in the amount of $25,000. This exemption is restricted, these are the qualifications, to those taxpayers reporting an income of $25,000 or less per year. Taxpayers reporting incomes greater than $25,000 per year will receive a regular homestead exemption only. The committee further recommends that both the exemption and the income requirement be adjusted yearly in an amount equivalent to the cost of living change. The Pickens County Tax Study Committee recommends that this change be placed before the public by referendum. Another recommendation in here is that the local $2,000 per year for the county line item be increased to $5,000. In another attached bill, they recommend that the school for a regular homestead be increased from the state $2,000 to $5,000 also. The corresponding legislation for these three things from this recommendation are House Bill 854, oh, wait a minute, back up to the group on the committee. Okay, the aforementioned group, Don Bogus Senior basically chaired the committee. He is no longer with us. He was appointed by Garland Penholster. Tommy Lindsay is still alive and well, probably selling real estate somewhere. Dan Cochran is still alive and well out on Cove Road. Rachel Goss was the tax commissioner at the time. She's alive, but Rachel's having some issues. Eloise Lindsay is the wife of Paul Lindsay. Raise your hand, Paul. It's what makes Paul successful. She was on the committee. Arlene Dean came from the city of Nelson. She's still alive and doing well. Chuck Payne is still alive and well in the community, and he was appointed by Mayor Weaver. Where's Mayor Weaver? Mayor Weaver appointed him to the committee. I'm sad to say, Andy Robb and Francis Stewart were both appointed to this committee. They were very, very active. I learned a lot about the committee from these two guys. They really did a lot of footwork. Neither one of those gentlemen are still with us. But that was the group in the committee that looked at all these things and made the recommendations. Now, can we go to 854?
Roy, the year of that study was what, 1996, you said?
The minutes that I just read came from December 2nd, 96. Okay. Okay. This is House Bill 854. And 854 is the enacting legislation that gave us our senior citizen and disability exemption. Okay, when you read through that, this is the enabling legislation. Criteria, as we mentioned before, for age was 62 and over, gross household income previous year less than $25,000. What the committee was trying to do, from everything that I talked to them about, when people get past a certain age, it's harder for them to hold down jobs. Okay? And if these people are at this age, they're limited on the income they make, maybe we ought to make some improvements to that. And along with that, and I won't probably touch on this again, they applied the same rationale to somebody with a total disability. Same situation, if you're 100% disabled, you know, we're going to let you meet the same income qualifications and get the same thing. Okay? So that's House Bill 854. House Bill 855 Okay? This was the enacting legislation that increased, if you're just a normal homestead person, it increased the county line from the state 2,000 level that everybody's mandated to do to $5,000. So that's why when you look on your tax bills and you see that exemption amount on the county line, it's $5,000. The next piece of legislation that followed that was 856. And this is the $5,000 exemption for school. So if you're just a normal homestead person, it increased the school from $2,000 to $5,000. That's what happened. That's the legislation that changed. Our office is the office that actually has to administer this each and every year. For the people that come in, we go by the legislation, we take the applications, we keep up with those records. And before I forget it, I got excited about telling you stuff. Stephanie Gooch, stand up. I am the chief appraiser in the assessor's office. This is my deputy chief appraiser, and she's the reason that we do so good. Thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you.
All right. Take me to the chart for revenue from all sources. Okay. We're talking about taxation and we're talking about property taxes. What most people don't understand, everybody hates a property tax bill because it comes and you got to pay it all at one time in the fall. Okay? I think they're working on now where you can make payments and everything, but that hurts. Everything else you do, water bills and everything, you do so much a month. Property taxes one time a year. It hurts so bad that you think that's the only place that government gets any taxes from. Okay? Property tax for 2017 on the county level, I didn't do the school, it may vary a little bit. Property tax is 46%. Okay? What we found in the public meetings that we've done in the past and talking to people, most people don't realize that. There are other revenue sources, there's other taxes, licenses and permits, intergovernmental agreements, charges for services, fines and forfeitures, interest income, other revenue, and transfers. Just to have everybody on board, there's a lot of different ways that your government get funded. Okay. Go to the next color slide. Okay. These are our digest contributions. What we just talked about was your property taxes. When you look at this chart, the overwhelming thing that makes up any county's digest is residential properties. It's going to be followed with agricultural, commercial, conservation. Those are the great big categories. We've got a little yellow star down here. And in that little star, I've got a note. Residential, agricultural, farmers live in houses, they drive cars. Conservation properties, same thing. You're going to see people that live there, use the property, they're your citizens in Pickens County. You're going to see your timber properties. You're going to see your motor vehicles. They won't get out of your way at the red light and they're on the cell phone. In mobile homes, people live in mobile homes. Some of us in different houses, some people in mobile homes. When you put those categories together, which are the people in this room, that's us. When it comes to a tax bill funding the county, and when you increase your taxes, the people you're increasing it on ain't a corporate entity that owns Walmart or Georgia Marble. The people you're really affecting are the people that live here. It's your neighbors and it's you. I want to make sure that elected officials always understand that, because we do. But that's just an illustration of when you make changes, that's the people that get affected. Okay. Now, I'm going to read a memo that I sent to our county commissioners. This is the printout of it. I promise you, you cannot read it. I'm going to take my time and read it because I'm addressing elected officials that have got questions about exemptions. So I'm going to go through pretty slow on this, and I think you're going to understand it. I think it's going to answer a lot of questions. I did this August 31st, 2015. Robert, thank you for the questions about our current Pickens County senior tax break. I'm attaching a copy of House Bill 854, which is currently in effect beginning January 1st, 1998, which describes the qualifications and standards for a homestead exemption from all Pickens County school district ad valorem taxes for educational purposes. You will see that senior citizen applies to age 62 and over. Section 2 refers to all family members residing within the homestead and gross income does not exceed $25,000 for the immediately preceding taxable year. When you review the 2015 digest for Pickens County, you will find 547 accounts that are receiving $21,112,621 worth of exemptions due to this exemption. That basically, when you look at the 5-year history between the school and the county, theirs is that much bigger.
Board, would you
for
repeat
that
that number,
exemption.
please?
The number of what was on the digest for 2015 is $21,112,621. Okay? In answer to the question of raising income qualifications to $30,000 or $35,000. Number one, and I worded this in such a way that I wanted to really make it real for the people that I was sending this memo to. If you took the $21,112,621 extra school exemption that is now in place and added it to the current county levy, your overall millage rate will go up. You got to remember, I'm addressing the county commissioners. And I'm trying to make it real for them. If you take this kind of current exemption that we know is out there, your millage rate is going to go up. It's a simple mathematical formula. It's one of the reasons that I passed out these little brochures. These are good and they tell you a lot of things, but this little chart, this little graph, right here, I don't care who you are, what you're doing, it's that simple. Your taxes are based on the budgetary needs and they're applied to whatever the taxable net digest is. When you mess with that formula, your taxes don't go down, they go up. Now I knew when I sent this memo how sensitive county commissioners were to increasing millage rates. I'd been to the meetings. They'd rather do anything than increase the millage rate. Number two, if the qualifications are changed to let higher incomes qualify, I feel sure that more accounts will qualify. In addition, the values of properties that qualify will also go up substantially. Your current $21,112,621 would really increase. Higher exemption totals equal higher millage rates. Number three, because they were thinking that we could project what differences would be. When people buy and sell property, we receive PT 61, that's a property transfer slip, from the clerk of court's office that refer to the deed book and page number of the transaction. None of our offices get the owner's age or the owner's statement of annual income. We simply cannot estimate numbers of owners that would qualify under different qualifications. Number four, I'm also attaching House Bill 855, which increased the homestead exemption from $2,000 to $5,000 for Pickens County ad valorem taxes for homestead property effective January 1st, 1998. Number 5, I'm also attaching House Bill 856, which increased the homestead exemption from $2,000 to $5,000 for Pickens County School District ad valorem taxes for homestead property effective January 1st, 1998. One thing you will notice is that the state of Georgia has not increased any of its homestead exemptions during this time period. Some counties, like Pickens, voted on local exemptions, and some counties did not. Now we're getting into political examples. Around the year 2000, former Governor Roy Barnes and the state legislature voted to establish the homestead tax relief credit for homesteaded properties in the state of Georgia. The credit was phased in over several years and was then capped at $8,000 due to a loss of revenue of $429 million in 2008. The legislature voted to eliminate the program in 2009. This credit did not discriminate with regards to age or income and was an across-the-board $8,000 credit for any homesteaded property. As we have learned through the years, our county commissioners are responsible for the annual budget and levy for the operation of county government. We also have a school board consisting of 5 members who are elected with the same responsibility for their annual needs and their levy. I'll put a little advice in the next sentence. I think our county commissioners should always respect other elected officials and their responsibilities to the public. If I can help you, Jerry and Becky, with any more history, please come by, sign me. Okay? Stephanie, can you go to the ACCG memo, back to the state? Okay. You just heard me tell about what the governor and the legislature did. Prior to this happening, the Association of County Commissioners got wind that they thought that they were going to put this into effect. And they wanted to know the ramifications to each and every county, so they sent this out. And this is a copy of our response. They proposed a $50,000 homestead. By the time you take that to 40%, that's $20,000. You just heard me say that they capped it at $8,000. They started moving up to try to reach the 20. They never could get past 8 because they realized they were in big trouble. Okay? But all the counties sounded the warning to the government. The government did it anyway. Can you show me a copy of a tax bill with the wording on there, Stephanie? Okay. As part of the legislation to give homeowners a bigger tax credit. They didn't call it exemption, they called it a tax credit. Part of the legislation for all the tax commissioners is they had to print this on the bill. Your bill has been reduced by $72.24 as a result of homeowner tax relief enacted by the governor and the General Assembly of the state of Georgia. Everybody remember that I just said Governor Barnes did that? And the legislature at the time. The next governor elected in the state of Georgia was not Roy Barnes. When you do something this crafty and everybody's got a homestead, you'd think they'd vote for it. If I remember correctly, the gentleman won 4 counties in the state of Georgia. In the most historic election, Sonny Perdue was elected governor. The next thing that you saw from the legislature, and I've got a lot of paperwork that we didn't put in the slides, that actually tells what was happening at the state level. They couldn't put state patrolmen out to do their jobs. They couldn't hire people for their state agencies. And the legislature was going broke and wasn't going to be able to run the state of Georgia. Because the state had to pay the counties for all this revenue that we weren't getting. To make a long story short, the legislature dropped it like a hot potato. None of you get it today. I'm going to pick on Marty Callahan as an example of what we've seen a lot since then. Marty Callahan decided to run for public office a few years ago. Everybody's online trying to find out where Marty lives, because you know them voting districts, it's hard to figure out. Well, I knew where Marty lived, and I found his property, but he did not have a homestead. So I went and I found Marty. I said, Marty, is there any reason you haven't filed for your homestead? He said, we don't have homesteads anymore. They took them away. He's typical of how many people that felt the same thing. So many people thought we literally had lost our homestead exemption in the state of Georgia. I explained to Marty, the real exemption that we've got is still in place. The credit went away because the state of Georgia was going broke. Marty, I think you need to apply for a homestead exemption so people will know where you live. But I pick on him because we ran into so many people in the same thing. You ever remember reading in the newspaper about everybody getting up in arms because their homestead exemption credit was taken away? We didn't either. They just accepted it. It happened to everybody. Okay. Okay. One of the vocal groups that we've seen ads in the paper and meetings and things lately, in the paperwork that we get sometime will have Pickens Seniors for a Change on the paperwork. We have not seen a picture of the group. We don't know if they pay dues or got a picture of it or anything. But I found a group of Pickens Seniors for a Change. And I've got a picture of them. Stephanie, could you show my picture? I believe that's them. That is what we have cultivated in this county our entire lifetime. It's what all the community leaders have cultivated in this community their entire lifetime. Okay? I don't know how many of you have been to a high school football game lately, or go down to take your kids or your grandkids in the morning. There's a whole lot of people involved down there in our schools. I went to the Gilmer County game. I like bringing that one up. We beat them in historical fashion 62-0, and we had fireworks. I didn't know there were that many people that could be in one place in Pickens County at one time. You know what those people were there supporting? Our future. The band members, the football players, the student body. You've never seen anything like it. I've worked in this job for about 27 years now. I deal with people on a daily basis, on property taxes, on exemptions, on politics in general. I can tell you, and Stephanie, you tell them if I'm not telling you correctly. The community leaders that I got to grow up with here, I'm going to call out Doug Lawson, Mark Whitfield, Don Boggins that was on this committee, Von Hinton, the people that gave selflessly to this community to make it what it is. You know what they all told me through the year? Weldon Eaton, can't leave out Weldon. Son, if I don't pay them taxes, are my kids and my neighbors going to have to pay them? Yes, sir, well, that's how it works. He said, son, I can afford to pay my taxes. And that's what we hear more than any other thing year in and year out. Am I telling it like it is?
Yes, you are.
Okay. We have got to collectively run our governments the best we can to the best of our ability. I can tell you that governments everywhere are using new technology to do better with less. I can also tell you, every time they do a budget, health insurance and things like that keep going up and it's hard to deal with. But that is basically the reality of what we're doing with it. And here's the question that I think we have to look at, and everybody that we talk to about our current exemption. Our committee suggested that if you meet certain qualifications, you get a $25,000 school tax exemption before you calculate your tax bill. The reason I showed you the enabling legislation, somebody messed up somewhere along the way. And we didn't end up with a local school tax exemption that when you qualify, you get $25,000 off. You get 100% of the value of the property exempted from school taxes. That's what we got. That's what we had in place. Rachel Goss was the tax commissioner, and it was time the first year to program that into her system. She was on the committee. She knew it was supposed to be $25,000, but that ain't what it said. And the county attorney got called in. And to make a long story short, because of something that happened somewhere along the way in the paperwork, what we currently have today is a 100% exemption for that property that meets the qualification of homestead, age, income, or disability. Now, I think if anybody challenged that in court, it would probably be declared invalid. I'm going to tell you why. When you meet the same qualifications as someone else to get something, I believe everybody expects to get the same thing. The way it is now, you've got a very valuable property, that person's getting a tremendous exemption. If you have a much less valuable property, they're only getting this much. There's nothing fair and equitable about what they're receiving. I'm going to tell you why I think it hasn't been addressed. It's actually going to the people that we're worried about the most. They're not the most affluent people in the county. They don't have the more valuable properties, so we've learned to absorb that. Okay? But that's really what we're at the crossroads of. If we ever go forward to do something else, if we get a committee of representative people to look at this, make recommendations, maybe at that time, if everybody learns what we've got, what's good, what's bad, and different, maybe we can formulate a plan and come up with something. Okay. Send me to Bartow County, Stephanie. Okay. You have a lot of people and a lot of conversations. Oh, what would it do if we change things? Okay? One of the suggestions I've made is go look at a county that didn't have anything, then they did something, and what is the difference? After the tax study group did what they did, we went and looked at a county that had done something kind of similar to what we did. It's Bartow County, Georgia. In 1992, with normal state exemptions, their millage rate was 23.96 mils. In 1993, all they added was a $28,000 school exemption. It went to 25.88. The next year in '94, they did something similar to what we did. Remember, we upped the 2,000 to the 5,000? In '94 is when they did it, and it went to 27.28 mils. We wanted to kind of watch it the next couple of years and see what happened. In '95, same exemptions were in place. It went to 27.84. In '96, a lot of change there, and it came to 26.82. You can always take this number, the first number, and figure out what an impact it has. I can tell you that I've seen county commissioners grilled over 1/10 or 2/10 of a point of a mil. I'd hate to see what they do if they raise something a whole mil. Fast forward to Bartow County, and I should have this on the slide. Pickens County right now is 23.552 cumulative this year. In 2016, Bartow County now, their school tax exemption is $40,000, which means it's exempting the first $100,000 worth of homesteaded value. Okay? They're at 28.21 mils. Okay? That's probably the best indicator of what happens. It proves that when you do these things, your millage rate is not going down. It's going to go up. There's another point I want to make on that.
See the tax bill?
Do I? Okay. And this is how it's shown on the tax bill. Got 2,000, 5,000, and the 40,000 exemption from Bartow County. Take me to the Woodstock article. Okay, this is not an entire article. You read all kinds of things in the newspapers, letters to the editors, pros and cons and everything. This was just a real timely one a couple of years ago. They got to realizing what had happened to them, and they were having a financial crunch trying to run their city down in Woodstock. So that's just a brief capshot of that, but you can see it in different communities around the state.
What year was that?
11 years ago.
2006. Yep.
He's not living in the future, now, he's living in the past.
How many
Okay.
years experience do you have, Roy?
27.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, go to the brochure that's got Frank and Kimsey on it. Okay. The brochure I handed you has got this little insert here. You can theorize, you can rationalize, you can make excuses. You want to shift people's taxes to other places, okay? This is where the rubber always hits the road, okay? It's the financial needs versus the net taxable digest. This is what it all boils down to right here. I left this with some of our older stuff. I've got books that go back years and years. I got a picture of Kimsey Wood, because we were messing with Kimsey and Frank that year because things were changing, so we printed their pictures on the brochure for fun. The boys at Progress helped me do that. But they're a good example of what we're talking about. Roy Barnes lasted his one term. Kimsey at that time was the elected school superintendent. We changed it right after that. There was no longer an elected school superintendent. Dear friend of mine, we went through a lot together through the years. Another great friend of mine, we coached women's softball together, we've known each other for years. Frank served one term. Frank was the commissioner in office when these exemptions went into place. In all the counties that we talked to, we'll pick on Gilman County, the people, the elected officials that were behind that were gone the next election cycle.
Good.
Well,
You can get replaced.
we the public are gullible to a certain extent, but we're not totally stupid, and I think these are good examples of it. So whatever you're gonna do, you got to really understand the consequences.
Did you ever look at Dawson County?
Oh, yeah.
Cherokee.
You know that Dawson County's exemption for county and school for homesteads is only $2,000
Not for seniors.
for everybody else? Yes, we're familiar with
What
Dawson.
percentage?
We'll wait till later. We'll wait till later. What's on slide 29?
Also gives senior exemption at 70.
Why don't you move to Dawson?
Okay. I think I'm gonna end it with this. On my part, but I'm gonna stay here to answer questions. Like I said, you write down your slide numbers and we'll talk about things. Let's talk about exemptions that are offered in the United States of America. Okay? This is the annual statement that our tax commissioner Darren gets from the Department of Revenue. There's a constitutional exemption called an S5, Veterans Exemption. It is granted to anybody that in the service of our country developed a 100% disability. 100%. You're 40, 60, or 80, you don't get it. I can tell you that you got a Pickens County resident that was receiving this for years. 2 years ago, he came into my office and he said, "You need to take that away from me." I said, "Why?" He said, "I've been downgraded, I'm doing better." Well, in our business, January 1st is the main day for every year's tax bill. And I looked at him, I said, "What month did they tell you that?" And he told me, I said, "You're just going to have to take it this year." I said, "But we'll do it for next year." That's the kind of people you live with. The amount of the exemption for somebody I don't think any of us have an issue with is $77,000. Our current school tax exemption exceeds that. It's more than that. It's total. And let me tell you something else about what is a homestead. A homestead can be a house and a lot. A homestead could be 3 houses on 6 acres with 3 families, but it qualifies under the state homestead laws. A homestead can be a farm, hundreds of acres, all kinds of improvements and everything on the property, but if it qualifies under those conditions, the whole thing is exempted under our current bill. What I would hope going forward, one of the things I like about Bartow County, everybody that got it got the set amount, just like all other exemptions should be. So the one thing you got to be careful on in making legislation, what you think you're doing and what actually happens is 2 different things. Okay? Stephanie, have I forgot anything?
Can't think of anything.
Okay. Like I said, I showed you color slides to wake you up. I'll talk to you about numbers. I'm going to sit down and turn the next part of the meeting over to Carlton Wilson, the current school superintendent for Pickens County.
Well, I do want to say right off, start with that we are planning to have some town hall meetings after the first of the year. I'm still accumulating data. I'm getting it from a number of different locations. I'm getting it from systems and counties that have just recently gone through this.
Can you sound off a little bit more, please?
I'm sorry. Yes. I am accumulating the data from systems that have currently gone through this with some counties. So we plan on having a couple of more town hall meetings right after the first of the year. And I'll be glad to address anything that you have between now and then. I do want to say a couple of things though. One of the counties that I've recently talked to, I talked to the superintendent today, Dr. Jeff Wilson over in White County, and he's sending me the data to back it up. They went through a senior tax exemption, and it is now costing that school system $1 million per year from their general revenue. And he's got the data to back it up. Cobb County. Cobb County has a very generous tax exemption for seniors. And according to the Center for State and Local Finance, and this was September 27, 2016, and it said two things in conclusion of going through all the statistics and everything, that Cobb County's generous tax exemption amounts to 6.6% of the district's annual budget. Their annual budget is $491 million, but it equates to about $32 million that they lose because of this senior tax exemption that they currently have. They also said that that would equate to about $290 for all the young people that are paying taxes in the county, an increase in their bill. And also it said that the number of seniors that have moved into Cobb County because of the tax exemption has gone up 36%, which creates even a greater loss of income. Basically comes down to a couple of things.
They move in there, they're spending money on clothing, gasoline, cars, they have they're spending more money. They have more disposable income. So
If y'all
what
can
they
hold
do
your
is
questions,
they
please, until we get all the way through, and then we're going to give you lots of time for questions.
Absolutely. I do want to say, though, it comes down to a couple things. The cost of running a school is going up. We talked about taxes. One of the smallest groups of people in our school system that earn the least amount of money are some of our parapros. We pay an annual salary to our parapros a little under $11,000 a year. It costs us $14,000 a year to employ that person to give them $11,000. So that's with health insurance and everything else that has gone up so much. It comes down to one thing. We come up with the amount of money to run the school system. And then it's calculated into the tax digest and everything like that. And I know that we're one of the largest users of property tax revenue. We have that one pot of money. Who is going to pay it? It's easier if everybody pays some. Now, if this goes through, I qualify for the exemption just like y'all do. However, I'm sorry?
I'm paid twice for the school than what the rest of the county I pay.
I'm sorry, I'm also getting old and didn't understand what you said, and I apologize.
I say that I'm paying for the school board almost twice of what I pay to the county.
Yes.
Yes.
That
you do.
why?
You do. We got.
And I don't have no kids going to school, I don't have no grandkids.
Let me ask you this question. The quality of people running our government, the quality of people working in our force, the next generation of doctors, the next generation of scientists, the next generation,
I pay
period.
for my kids already.
Okay. Yes, sir.
I moved down here in 2000. I read a lot of things about this county, and I'm from Pickens.
Yes, sir.
I probably pay a fair share of my taxes. I'm a senior citizen of many years. There was national attention given to Pickens County by Kiplingers who surveyed the entire United States, okay? Pickens County was designated to be in the top 10 counties in the whole United States for growth. You failed. Pickens County hasn't grown one iota. In fact, it's gone backwards. Your tax ratable base, which would be supporting the school system, doesn't exist in any way, shape, or form like Dawson County. Dawson County has increased by almost 100%. And you can see, go along the 400 corridor, the population has almost doubled, and the tax ratables are expanding rapidly. And yet they're giving out senior exemptions. Can you explain why? Don't compare it to Bartow County, which is still in the pony days, like Pickens County.
But I could say one thing to answer the question that this gentleman answered earlier. And that is, yes, Dawson County gives the senior exemption. It's less favorable than ours.
Yes.
To get the 100% exemption, you have to be 75, and it has a 25,000 income limit, just like ours. So Dawson County is less favorable for
Are
seniors
you,
than we are.
you're talking, Dawson County has a city, Dawson City. Which one are you talking about?
Dawson County. The
They only have a
Dawson.
county
You on the
school
state
system.
Department of
Well,
Revenue.
that's not what my neighbors in Big Canoe tell me.
No, they're wrong.
Well,
Look at your tax bill.
I have,
All right.
Can we let Dr. Wilson finish, please?
where has the growth been?
I'm sorry.
Where has the growth in Pickens County been to offset some of the expenses? Come on.
I want to make one quick statement.
You
Carl.
give 1996
If you
numbers.
listen, I'm going to answer you with one question. The state issues the value of all of our counties. Would you like to guess which county's value is greater, Pickens or Dawson? You get one guess. Which county is worth more?
Right, the land mass probably of
No.
Pickens, I have no idea, tell me.
Pickens County's digest is
Big
worth
deal.
more. Well, it goes to counteract your point, sir.
Last time.
What does that tell you? Because you
Can we,
got
right, we
Market
got-
County land mass.
can we please wait until Dr. Wilson?
There's a couple other little statistics I do want to let you know about. We are one of the 18th richest counties in the state of Georgia, based upon our asset value and everything else. We also have a school system that's 55% free and reduced lunch. We have over half of our students live in poverty in Pickens County. Now, and I'll tell you, experience, from my own personal experience, the only way to move from one socioeconomic level to another is through education, and a good education.
And they're leaving the county as soon as they graduate. They're not coming back to give back to this county.
Do the students grow
There
up
are a
and
lot
want
that
to
aren't
live here?
coming back. I'm sorry?
Do the students grow up and want to live here?
That depends on who you talk to. If you look at the number of teachers that are in the school system, the vast majority of them are homegrown teachers. So they are coming back. We are the largest employer in Pickens County, and the majority of our people are local, homegrown people. We have a very good school system that we are trying to make a great school system. And it comes down to a couple of things. Now, I understand poverty.
But you're putting
Because
part of
I've been
us
there.
in poverty.
Ma'am?
You're putting part of us in poverty.
You're keeping.
I also want to say, though, those of you on this end, also you have as many on the front end of brand new young couples that are struggling to make that.
But they can work.
Ma'am, please,
And I was telling,
please, then we'll have questions. You'll have lots of time for questions.
I tell you, really and truly, I've heard enough.
And I know tonight, this is a very, very emotional.
I've heard very old statistics,
21 years.
I don't want to hear 1996.
Let him finish.
I'm sorry, go ahead. I'll stay. And I'm sorry that you've been elected in to this type of situation, really and truly. It's not of your making right now.
Well, I appreciate that, but I'm here and I'm going to do the best job I can do to.
Well, that's what we want you to do, but we want some kind of relief, somehow or other. My husband passed away. Do you think my expenses went down when my income went down? No. I have to pay the same for housing, The same for electricity, the same for insurance and everything. And I lost him, I lost his income, I lost his veteran benefits that he was drawing, and I'm still having to live on what I have. And I was told, well, I can keep what I had, you know, what I have got saved, but I'm having to pull against that to pay these taxes. It's not fair.
Well said.
I'm sorry.
No, and I,
The problem is that $25,000 exemption
It's ridiculous.
is gross, gross income. That includes your social security, it includes your retirement income. You exempt those two sources of income and allow a $25,000 exemption, and you're okay. It also includes a one-time windfall. You sell a house somewhere, you get a windfall, you buy a house in Pickens, you can't take that $25,000. There are other caveats that go with that. It's not the deal that you're making it sound like.
oh, and I totally agree with you, 100%. Totally agree with you. But let me ask you a question, and I'm not opposed to tweaking some things. Of course, I'm not the one that makes that decision, but I'm not opposed to doing some tweaking to the current exemptions. But let me ask y'all a question. I am your school superintendent. How do you want me to run the school? How do you want me to pay teachers?
It's very simple. How much money do you send downtown every year?
Send downtown?
Yeah. How much money does Pickens County send to the school board and everything else in Atlanta every year?
We don't send any money to them.
That's not what we were told.
No, you may be confused with what's called the first 5 mills that we don't qualify to get from the state, that they send it to other counties. But we do not send money out of our county. Now, if you're in a tier that we're in, we don't qualify for that to come to us, which is the first 5 mills. It's equalization. But we don't send our tax dollars down there. They just don't send it to us. Yes, ma'am.
Could you explain to me, I'm not a politician, but
I'm not either.
why do we have to have a plan to put it on a ballot and let it go before the taxpayers? Or can you not just put something on the ballot to the taxpayers and then form a committee, should it be passed, that says, should seniors get exemptions? Leave it up to the taxpayers and then form a committee to worry about what this exemption is.
I have absolutely no say-so or control over any of that. I have no authority to put it on a ballot. I have no authority to take it off of the ballot.
Well, how does it get on the ballot? What do you have to do to get it on the ballot? And leave it up to the
It will be on the
taxpayers?
Republican ballot next spring.
ballot is coming up.
We're trying to convince the Democrats to put it on their ballot.
Let me answer your question on that. Local counties can put an item on the general primary ballot, which is next May 22nd. You can have it on the Republican ballot and on the Democratic primary ballots. However that goes, that will be sent to our state legislators, who then can put a bill in the legislature. And those bills that Roy Dobbs talked about is the way it has to be done to change the exemption in a county. The state legislature has to pass that.
But is that after the vote or before the vote?
Well, the vote on the primaries is just a straw ballot. All it does is advise the elected officials, that's what people in the county think.
Well, here
Then it goes to the legislature.
I hear a lot of negative vibes that we can't put it on the ballot.
That's
It's gonna
up,
be on the ballot, trust me, it'll be on the ballot next spring.
it has to come through the General Assembly to be on the ballot. No, I mean through our state legislature.
Well, the county parties can
Yes.
put the straw vote
Straw
on the
vote, for the
primary
general
ballot.
election in November.
David, it's the same thing as what we went through with changing from sole commissioner to a multi-person commission.
Yes.
You first of all have to have straw ballots If the majority says yes, they want to change, then the legislators have to get involved, write a bill, and then it goes back to a vote of all the people in the county, not only senior citizens, but everybody,
Well, that's what it ought to be. It
Right.
ought to be up to the
whether
taxpayer.
it passes or not.
Yeah.
That's what
Believe
we'll
one
have.
thing, when it goes to the council, those people can do anything with that they want.
Well, they gotta follow the wishes of the voting.
No, they don't. They did with the commissioners.
No, right. They changed it with the county
Yes,
commission.
ma'am.
Oh, one thing we haven't talked about this meeting, I brought it up the last meeting on South, I'm sure Roy remembers, he's a neighbor of mine. We turned down Chick-fil-A, nobody's talking about commercial parking.
We turned it down?
We turned it down.
Why in the hell did we do that?
I don't know, I'm not Chick-fil-A.
I mean, why are we going more
Those are questions, those are types of questions that you need to be asking the city council, mayor, and the county commissioners.
Well, they can be replaced, let's put it that way.
Well, I mean, but those are the ones that help control some of that. The school, I can't bring any business in or take any business
I
out.
know, I'm sorry.
Although I am opening an indoor gun range that's gonna pay taxes. All of you can come take classes. We're gonna have a ladies class and we're gonna have a senior citizens class. So you can all come and pay, and I'll pay taxes through my gun range.
I'll be happy to.
So I am trying to help the economy. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you are the county superintendent.
I am the Pickens County School Superintendent.
You control grade school, middle school, high school.
Yes, to some degree.
What is your total population in all the schools in Pickens County?
We're right at 4,500 students.
And total budget.
4,500, and your budget is?
41 million,
42.
42 million.
42 million. Now, another question. I'm new to the county, but I was here to read what happened to your predecessor as far as her comp package. The phone, the house, the car, and I was told your platform when you were running for superintendent was a lot different, and you were appalled too that she got that kind of package. Do you feel that your 42 million is being spent on every child in this county to educate them, or have we got a lot of fluff somewhere?
We don't have a lot of fluff. We do have enough in our general budget that we're offering some things that we would not be able to offer that does come out of our general budget. Now, half of that, about 46% of that is local, and the other part's coming from the state. So property taxes makes up about 46% of our total overall budget. I may be off a percentage or two. I've been here since May 12th as superintendent, and one of the things that we're doing, and we're doing it as quickly as we possibly can, we're evaluating everything that we do, every program that we have, every dollar that we spend, to make sure that we're spending it to the most effective means possible, because it's also my tax dollars that we're spending, and I want them to be spent as efficiently and as effectively as we possibly can. We have been able, because our tax digest did go up some this year, we were able to lower our millage rate this year. Second year in a row. And we actually were able to lower it to the largest drop in the last 7 years in our school millage rate. Because we're trying to be as economically feasible as possible with trying to take care of all the taxpayer dollars that we possibly can. And we're looking at everything we do to see how we can cut costs and become more efficient in what we do.
How's it looking for next year?
Still in the process of, they just passed the budgets, and a lot of that come in, and we're tweaking some of it and stuff.
How much
I
are you
inherited a
tweaking?
lot of things too.
Yeah, give me an order of magnitude tweak.
Let me get back with you on that, and I'll be glad to, on some of the things we're changing. We're looking at calendars, school calendars, to see if that has an effect on not only academic performance, but also
Well,
savings.
aren't you in the budgeting process right now?
No, it's over.
it's over, then you ought to know the answer.
What was the question again?
I said, how's it looking for next year? You're tweaking things.
Well, I mean, the budget has been set, and we're still looking at all the programs. We're not through, we're just starting, we're compiling all of our data, we're getting data from the state. And I don't know how to answer your question at the moment, but I don't have.
I could answer it.
All right, answer it for me.
No, I said in industry, if my boss asked me, I could answer it.
Dr. Carlton?
I made up big multi-million-dollar budgets every year.
Aren't all your Board of Education meetings open to the public?
Yes, they are.
Including
And we
your
do
budget
financial
meetings?
results. I'm not sure exactly what all you, when I said tweak, I need to know what we're talking about.
Well, the budget right now is 42 million.
Yes.
What are we looking at for next year?
We will look at, and I hope to be able to reduce that some next year. Is that what you're talking about?
Really, you inherited the budget already
Yes.
for this year. And it can't be any change, so it has to be next year.
But we can save money in every avenue that we possibly can, and that's what we're looking at doing right now. We're looking at
I realize that.
whether we buy, textbooks or go digital. We're looking at the number of sets of things that we purchase. We're looking at what we're purchasing, and are we getting and that's one of the biggest strong things with our current school board. They want to make sure that the dollars that we spend per student is the most effective way
They're
that we're doing
spent on the
it.
student.
Yes.
Carlton, can I come to your defense real quick?
Absolutely.
Everything that you have just asked has actually been published in the Pickens County Progress. It's online and everything. I think you will all be surprised if you go back and look at the school's 5-year history and look at what the school board has done for several years with regards to their budget. You're going to be shocked. They have decreased it steadily over a number of years. Most people don't take time to read that, but I just wanted to point it out.
Thank you. One other thing is, we're in a unique school system in the state of Georgia. I'm trying to find out how many's in the same situation we are. I don't know yet. I haven't found anyone else, but we are one of the only few school systems that are totally 100% debt-free. We owe nobody any money. We don't have month-to-month leases. We have a few credit cards that are paid off monthly, so we're not having to borrow money, and we're not paying any interest on anything. So we are debt-free, and we want to stay debt-free, but we also want to use exactly what we're able to do. Yes, ma'am.
This could also go towards Mr. Dobbs. I don't understand how the school system can be debt-free when the county, you are taking our tax dollars, you're debt-free, but the county borrows money the first of the year, they spend it, and then they collect our tax dollars at Christmas time. Why can the county not do quarterly taxes for property?
Well, all your questions need to go to county commissioners. He's just the school superintendent.
And for a little more money, I'm sure we could run the county too. I'm sorry, that's outside the realm at the
You're
moment.
getting the questions he should.
That's what I said, Mr. Dobbs should be able to answer that. I don't understand.
No, he's not going to, I'll tell you that.
I was wondering over the last 5 years.
I know you.
Excuse me.
Sorry.
Right now you say you have 4,500 students.
Yes, sir.
Has that increased or decreased over the last 5 years?
It has been a small increase. We're up just a few students over last year at this point. But we have been pretty stagnant for the last 6 or 7 years.
When you say few, do you mean like half a dozen?
27 students over last year at this point last year.
Okay, so the way I look at it, you're spending roughly $420,000 per student.
Yes.
About 5,000 students.
9,000.
Yeah, 9,000 students.
You got $42 million budget, you got 4,500 students.
Well, it doesn't all go. Yeah, it doesn't all go to students.
I will be glad to take anybody at any time and sit down with our finance director, and we'll go through every bit of it step by step and let you know where it's all going. Be right. Yes.
I have a quick question, because you said you were only here till May, so I'm not sure if you were in on this deal or not. I remember the school board giving somebody a $30,000 raise because they thought he worked harder. He made, I think it was 50 then, and they raised it to 85. It was in the paper. And it's like, because they thought so. That was sure nice of them. I would wish my boss would give me a $30,000 raise because I did a good job. Namely, the job I'm supposed to do. So they're going $35,000 down the tubes. Now, I don't know if you're involved in this or not.
No, I wasn't here.
Okay.
Wasn't here, and our board actually has changed also. So they're not the exact same board that went through that.
Yeah, that's why he got canned.
And that person didn't last very long with us anyway before moved on to bigger and better.
Because we rose hell.
Yes, sir.
I've read in the newspapers over the years that the Pickens Middle School is at a state that needs to be replaced.
Yes, sir.
The old high school?
The old high school, Jasper Middle School.
Jasper.
Yes, sir.
Can it be completed with the current splosh?
What we're looking at, we're talking about our efficient way to use our money, and in talking with our school board, under our current SPLOS that we currently have, we could build a whole brand new middle school, which would take almost all of that SPLOS. Or because of our growth being stagnant like it has over the last 6 or 7 years, and projections are not going to be, it's going to grow some, but not tremendous over the next few years, we can take that same SPLOS and realign our schools. And actually, we would go from 7 schools to 6 school campuses and improve things at each of the schools that would bring them up to standards where they need to be, and take care of some issues at all of our schools, and be able to use that money in a more efficient means across 6 campuses. And also, we would reduce a lot of the energy and everything else of running a 7th school altogether. So we're looking at all of those kinds of things to save money.
So that's the tweaking that...
Yes, sir. That is part of the tweaking that we're looking at. And what we're doing right now is we've got an architect that is coming up with numbers on what it would cost at each facility to present it to the school board and let them decide what projects we need to do, whether it's a brand new school or different things at different campuses and not build a new school. And actually not have our K-12 students occupy that Jasper Middle School campus. But that is some of the things that we are looking at as far as tweaking. Yes, ma'am.
You know, in this whole conversation, I haven't heard about we're doing all this for the schools, which is good if that's what we're going to do. But how are our kids rated as far in the state of Georgia, as far as their scores? How many are actually graduated? I mean,
The past graduation rate that came out, and of course we got new ones coming out right now as we're speaking, and some of them have not been released to the public yet, but that has been released this past year, and we had the 14th best graduation rate in the state of Georgia. We have some areas from K-12 up that we do an awesome job at, and we're ahead of the state and ahead of our RESA in some areas. And there's areas that we struggle and have got to fix and correct. There's always areas of improvement that we need to look at, and those are the things that we're looking at. We're not where we want to be. We're not where we need to be, and we're going to do everything we can to fix that and move our kids to where they really do need to be, and we can be a premier school system in the state of Georgia. Just not a very good one, but a premier school.
Just a suggestion.
Yes, ma'am.
Y'all need to come out with these facts before you come out with anything else.
14th in the state out of how many?
1,200 high schools?
There's 200. There's 159 counties, but there's more school high schools.
There's 181 school districts. in the state of Georgia, and I forgot the number of high schools. I want to, and I may be wrong, but I think it's right around 1,200 high schools. And we had the 14th best graduation rate.
What is the graduation rate?
94.682, 94.2%.
And how many go to college?
I don't know right off the top of my head. I'm sorry about that. I'll find out.
Stephanie's batting 100%, both her kids are in.
Yeah, they just graduated both in college.
I would strongly recommend, and I've had a chat or two, we're going to have some more chats, but you don't have to wait for a chat. If you have a concern about our school system or a question about our school system, come see me. And you want to get deep into the finances, well, we'll go get our financial director, our chief financial officer, and we can sit down with her and go through everything. I mean, we're transparent, and we're planning on being transparent. So my door's open. The only thing is I started this when I took office, and my door being open, you might have to take a number and stand in line. But trust me, I'll see everybody that's there. And I welcome you to come. And you know, as a senior in our county, I mean, I'd love to have some tax benefits also. And if we can tweak something to help those that really need help,
We can
absolutely.
get just anything, really and truly, it will help.
And I'm not opposed to looking at any of those. And I'm not opposed to full 100% tax exemption as long as everybody knows in the county what's going to happen and what's going to, you know, be the result of it. Because
What about the proposal of graduated discounts? In other words, like a third 1 year, a third the next year, and a third then the following year. You know, three years in a row. And that will give you maybe time to adjust.
I really want to, and when I hold some meetings after the first of the year, I really want you to come because I'm getting real data from school systems like Bartow, but the ones that just have gone through it. White County, and there's a couple of counties in South Georgia, and the effect that it's having. And I'm going to look not just for those that agree with my argument, but all of them. If they've gone through an increase in senior tax exemptions or any kind of tax exemptions, I want to get the data to show it to you. And I'll have that after Christmas.
Yeah, maybe you or Mr. Dobbs. How many properties in Pickens County are in arrears for their property taxes that haven't been paid for, say, a couple of years? Do you know what those figures are?
There's a gentleman in the room that knows the answer to that.
You talking
I'm
about
not
the years?
the tax commissioner,
The
I'm the
years
tax
itself?
assessor, but the tax commissioner, Darren Satterfield, is here. Are you hiding real good?
Yeah,
Yes.
No.
He's at the floor.
We're collecting 15 right now. There are some with personal property that's further behind, but now we're starting to go after those. The first of this year, if we have to seize that personal property, we're going to and auction it off.
Well, so how many properties are in arrears, and what's the total of the taxes that if they paid up, what would it be?
You'd have to come by the office. We'd have to pull it for you. I mean, I couldn't just tell you that right off the bat. But you're welcome to come by. I'll be there tomorrow if you want to come by. Be more than happy to pull it for you.
Well, then, can I ask then the question from the memo?
Yes.
You said 21 million plus worth of exemptions already in this county?
That's just, you remember we talked about the senior school tax exemption?
Yeah.
That's just that one exemption.
Yeah, 21 million is not going to the schools.
That is correct. Now, here's the situation. When you're looking at values of your property, you're worth X. When we put it on the digest, your X is now a 40% value that can be levied on. Okay? Those figures are coming from the 40% digest. When you look at the 5-year histories that the school board publishes to do their levy, look at the county's 5-year history and levy. The difference in the exemption amount is that one exemption that's unique to the school systems. It is much bigger. It's to the tune of the $21 million plus. So I hope that answers your question.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I thought we did, there's no senior.
That's why we like to have these meetings.
Yes.
What, who gets it?
Okay, that's what we've been going over since that tax study group, since we passed those House bills. In Pickens County, Georgia, we intended to up the state 10,000 to, if you met the qualification, you get a $25,000 exemption. Because somewhere along the way, they dropped that you're going to get a $25,000 exemption. Pickens County, Georgia has the largest senior tax exemption, school exemption in the state of Georgia. It's everything.
For who?
Whoever qualifies. 62
What's the
and
qualification?
62 and over. Gross income is different for that.
Yeah, you're in poverty.
Well,
Put the other one back in. Hang on just a second while she's on that point.
Which one?
The one that had the applicant. The applicant.
And that presentation stinks.
Was a lot of hard work on my part.
I have got years that show you the people, you saw in my little memo, I mentioned 547 accounts, okay? I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but everybody thinks everybody in Pickens County makes loads of money. You heard him tell what people parapros make. If you go to places around here, people don't make $15,000 and $20,000 a year. Working people, much less $25,000. Very few widows or widowers are going to make $25,000. We have taken the names out, but we'll tell you this is the married couple, single female. We'll identify. We will show you the incomes that people in Pickens County, Georgia, that are maintaining their households are actually receiving. We got years of them. Okay? That's the real world, people. That's kind of what Dr. Wilson was talking about.
But in the real world, I look really good on paper. But I have to pay my federal tax, my state tax, and I'm just like everybody else.
Yes, and thank you for bringing that up. When you get a tax bill on a piece of property that you own, it don't matter what kind of road you live on. It don't matter if you've got kids in school. It don't matter if you lived here 2 years or all your life. It's how much of Pickens County do you own? The idea of ad valorem is you pay on what you can afford to manage. If I get to where I can't afford to manage what I've got, which is more than I've ever had previously, it ain't up to you to pay my part. It's up to me to manage it differently. Okay? You're paying on what you own. Walmart pays on what they own. Georgia Marble does. It's not whether you got kids in school. It's not any of that. It's how much do you own and what are the millage rate levies that are put out because of the budgets.
And that's based on the value of that property, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so my property value has not gone up in the last 3 years, but yet my taxes have increased significantly.
Not in Pickens County, they haven't.
Yes, they have.
Your value's the same, ma'am. This year, every millage rate went down. And you can come by and we'll pull it
Well,
up.
how come my taxes went up $20 this year?
Your value's the same.
I think it did.
Call me and I'll look at it to you, but the millage rates went down. Millage rates went down, yes, sir.
Back, you talked about that House Bill 854.
Yes.
It was passed in 1998.
Yes, sir.
No.
No, the tax study group was in 96.
I was listening. I'm
Thank
talking
you.
now. I've
Thank
waited
you.
long enough to get my question in.
Thank you.
So anyway, so that's 19 years ago, and it was supposed to be an escalator based on the CPI, right?
There were a lot of suggestions made at the tax study group level. What I was trying to illustrate, and I know it's hard with a large group of people, what I was trying to illustrate is what you think you're doing as a collective group and what you end up with can be two totally
Well, I understand.
different things.
So by having a clip level of 25,000, giving you 100%, but that 25,000 hasn't gone up by the CPI, right?
No.
It never did get put into place.
Oh, that was my question then.
never did get put into
That was
place.
part of the recommendations, but it didn't become part of the bill.
Somewhere along the way.
Okay, so along with that 547 properties that you have $21 million worth of revenue lost because of the exemption. That means that you would, for the school part alone, that's $39,000 per property.
And if you'll come by, I will show you it's worse than that in some cases.
I understand. So what your point is fairly valid. You have some people that obviously could afford, you would think, to be able to pay their taxes if you have something that's that valuable, that would have demand to pay $39,000 worth of taxes on.
It varies, and that's one of the reasons I gave you the illustration, people. Homesteads vary, number of people living on property
Right.
structures, they are different.
So the whole problem is about how House Bill 354 was written and what it's done for the whole purpose is here. There could be a graduated exemption that would be a lot more equitable for everybody.
And you heard me say the word discriminate.
Yes.
If it had been in place like it should have been, everybody that met the qualifications would have got the same prize.
Thank you.
Thank you.
In Fannin and Gilmer, doesn't everyone over 62 don't have to pay school tax?
No. County by counties, they vary. And somebody mentioned other counties, you have to get up to 70 years old to get anything. And then at that point, it's only certain amounts, like he illustrated from White County. Union County, Towns County, Rayburn counties don't have any local exemptions, okay? The counties that have passed them are varied in what they've done. The biggest thing that we've learned from other counties in our own experience, a lot of people don't know what they're doing when they're doing it. But it varies. Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any estimate of what the current proposal that's out there will cost?
We have
Pickens
not,
County?
we have not a clue. More? More.
How much?
I will say that in talking to a couple of the superintendents around the state of Georgia that have gone through this with some variations, that it has cost taxpayers in that county 2 to 3 mills, which is 25 to 30% increase in taxes for those that do not qualify for the exemption.
And how do their demographics compare to ours? Because I have a sense that
Merck-
we might have a higher 62 and over
White
in
County.
Pickens than other counties?
White County is kind of close.
Okay.
But I don't know the actual, I know as far as some of the demographics, they're very similar. I'm not sure in total household income, because we do have a discrepancy in Pickens. Like I said, we're the 18th richest county in the state of Georgia, but we also have 55% of our students are in below poverty.
They get free or reduced lunches.
Right.
Yes, ma'am.
What is the poverty level?
What is
Income.
poverty level this year's? I'm not sure. Same, I don't
Okay.
know that.
I want to give everybody an example while we're talking about that. You see this group? They don't have a check coming in every month, do they? They've got to go hit the world. They're now out on their own. Whether it's trying to get an education or buy a piece of property, buy a car. Do you think any of these kids have it paid for? Or do they have to pay for all of it?
They're gonna do it just like we did.
Wait a minute, while we were doing it, it's a different thing. But what I'm telling you, here's the question. Are these people more equipped to pay for people that are more affluent when it comes to property tax ownership? That's the real question as a social issue.
I understand.
How many
People that are more
Yes, ma'am. No, sir, no, sir. Her.
I think what you're not understanding, that a lot of the people in this room are here for, is that we all worked all our lives, and now we're retired.
Yes.
And our income has been cut by a half or 2/3.
Yep.
And we might have a little pension here and a little social security there, but we still have the same homestead or the same
Expenses.
big house in big canoe or whatever. And our grocery bills have gone up, and our gas has gone up, just like.
In every other, ma'am, I do understand.
No, you're not listening to me.
Go right ahead.
These children, we went through what they went through already. That's not our responsibility at 70 years of age to worry about how they're gonna get their first job. Yeah, we're proud of them, but that's not on, and you're making,
Ma'am,
you know, it
go
sound like
explain
the
that to
majority
their
of this
parents.
room. Excuse me.
Somebody asked about poverty level in Georgia. Individual is $12,060. A family of 2 is $16,240. A family of 3 is $20,000. A family of 4 is $24,000. And it goes up to a family of 8 at $41,000. Below that is poverty level.
So 50% of the families that have kids in school are below the poverty level.
Over 50%, about 53%. Yes, sir.
They either
Then don't we
pay
need
free.
some kind of employment in this county more than anything?
We need tax
Employment.
I am trying to prepare these kids for any kind of employment they can get, whether it's in our county or outside county. But I can't bring the jobs, and I can't hire everybody for my gun range. I'm going to be limited on that one.
Well, we can all use the gun on the people in that aren't listening. I mean, this is, well, see, that's why they stopped Chick-fil-A from coming in.
Yeah.
That would have been an employer.
First of all,
And that's what this county has done far too long, is keep jobs out of the county.
amen.
You're talking to the wrong person.
I know we are, I know we are. But I'm hoping somebody else in here will listen.
First of all, I object to that picture. And I'll tell you why. That picture is able-bodied kids that do not have arthritis, they do not have high medical bills as you get old, etc., and they can go out and get a job. We, seniors, on the other hand, most of us have arthritis, most of us have medical bills out the wazoo, and we're paying tax on Medicare, which you guys don't realize, and we have to have a supplement to take care of the stuff that they don't take care of in Medicare. So I object to that picture. You're mixing apples with oranges.
Once again, go talk to their parents and their grandparents.
No, don't tell us that. Absolutely.
We've all been parents and grandparents.
They're responsible.
We've all been there.
I read some articles, how many seniors would be affected by getting an increase in the exemption?
See, that's one thing that's very, very difficult to find out.
No, it isn't.
It is.
How come the federal government does all sorts of studies on the population in every county? Their age, their income, their status, if they're in poverty or not. How come nobody is looking into this? Well, where's the answers?
May I answer his question?
Absolutely.
He'll get on it.
My group and I will be having a lot of meetings.
We've got somebody spotted speaking, I can't hear.
We're working on it.
Go to the computer, get on it. It will give you, let me speak, it will give you the percentage of people over 65, 70, right on that, right now.
That's great.
People
His
over
argument,
70.
he doesn't even give us the facts and figures.
He don't even.
But what it doesn't tell you is how many people over 65 on that piece of property. And how many other family members are living
You
with that
have
person.
that from the assessment, how many properties are paying taxes.
I don't.
And how many aren't.
You don't
Put
know.
the information together. Use the gray matter in between years.
More gray on the outside than it is on the inside. Yes, sir.
Well, Dr. Carlson, I appreciate listening to this forum. It's been very informative. I look forward to hearing more from the Board of Education and from you, sir, this following year. I appreciate Mr. Dobbs for providing this presentation. It is getting contentious. This is tax matters. It's always a contentious matter. I myself am approaching that age when this is a very important issue. Both my wife and I are approaching that, and that's why we're paying attention to it. So I do want to say thank you. We're getting out of here now, and I look forward to being one of your members of the gun range.
Thank you.
I'm happy to join a life membership if it's needed. Thank you, Doctor.
And I should
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
I'd like to know why you can't divide the tax bill up into two. If it impacts all of us, then why do we have to pay it all in December? We lived in DeKalb County, we paid it once in September, once in December. Why can't we do something like that?
Okay. Darren, did you hear this question?
No, I was talking to you.
All right. I'm going to try to answer it because you addressed me. But actually, Darren can help you more, but Darren is a new tax
That's what he was talking about.
He's putting all kinds of new things in place to help people make payments, partial payments. There were some counties that voted a split billing in. The majority of the state of Georgia goes off the normal tax laws, that your tax bills are issued one time a year. So that's the reason for the one bill. But he's being very progressive.
Right.
Vendors are getting better, where I think, tell me if I'm wrong, if you paid this year's bill and wanted to start paying in on your account for next year, can you handle that?
You sure can.
Okay.
I'm just curious, because
Yeah.
a lot of us are
Everybody.
And that's what's put us at the highest collection rate we've ever been, because we are doing that now.
Well, December is the worst time, though,
Right.
really,
But what I'm saying is
for
through-
tax bills to be
From
due.
the time when the bill does go out, because we are allowing people to do that, that's why we're at the highest collection rate we've ever been, percentage-wise, because we are doing that, working with people.
I'm gonna get this man right before you and then you.
All right.
Okay, yes.
Okay, I have a couple of things. I appreciate Dr. Wilson. Your school administrative people probably put up with more crap than anybody in any vocation anywhere. From teachers, parents, students. I know I was a teacher for many years. But somebody said something about the counties not being very business friendly. And I've noticed a few things. The business licenses went up about 33 1/3% this year. That's a pretty good increase for businesses. And my pet peeve is the quick burger being run out of the county. Small business, been there for years and years, and red tape ran the people out of business.
Must not have been all of the reasons.
Well, the water park is
I know the total situation, I've heard a little bit, but I don't know the total situation on that one. But,
It wouldn't have paid any taxes.
I'm sorry?
It wouldn't have paid any taxes. Right, it was gonna be tax exempt.
Okay, I've got a very patient lady with a tired arm right here.
No, I just want to know, can I be assured that every school's tax dollar that I pay goes to Pickens County Schools? It doesn't go to any other schools, correct?
Every dollar that you pay into the county does go to Pickens County. Except one thing, I'm sorry. Except there's 2.5% of our budget, our collections, 2.5% of our collection goes to the county to collect that for us. So we have to pay a 2.5% fee for our budget to go to the county, which does not go to the schools themselves, so I stand corrected on that.
We can solve that, we can have Darren's salary.
I've got another.
You know, and I'm okay with that too.
I don't understand why in Pickens County, we've acknowledged tonight that there's been stagnant growth in students in the school. I feel like there's stagnant growth in new businesses in Pickens County. If we allowed or encouraged more businesses to come into our county, wouldn't that encourage more people to move here? And wouldn't that raise our tax base? We'd be collecting more sales tax. we would have more benefits for people to come here instead of going past us to LJ or to Blue Ridge? I mean, I feel like we're being, people stop in Cherokee or they go to Blue Ridge.
And the mayor can help me on this one if I'm wrong on it. One of the problems in Pickens County is our infrastructure. We don't have a true natural source of water, although we're handling it as efficiently as we can. We are unfortunately, by God's design, I guess, a bedroom community per se, although we're right here on 515. We did just hear that we've got 33% increase in business license this time over last year, so there are some things that the mayor and the council are trying to do to bring controlled growth to Pickens County.
Well, that
and
was
City
the
of Jasper.
33% increase in fees.
License fee,
not in business.
Oh, well, I like the business part.
I was going with his take.
Well, I hate the cost went up 33% because that just caused my business fee to go up.
Well, so does that mean if we have infrastructure issues, we're never going to have growth in Pickens County?
Pickens County is never going to be a Dawson County, I don't believe.
And we're never going to be a Cherokee either.
No, but we are going to have the bedroom growth. And here again, some people can help me on this one. In a bedroom community, for every dollar that you raise in property taxes, it actually costs $1.25 to provide services for that property. So we're actually, for every dollar that's raised in property taxes, in every community, it costs the county $1.25 to provide the infrastructure.
You're talking about police, fire.
Roads, everything.
Well, now, we don't mind paying a little bit more for that if we can get a break on the school taxes. I'm sorry to say.
Well, and I appreciate that, but I'm okay with dirt roads as long as I got schools.
But nowadays, we're looking at fire department, emergency equipment,
And I'm trying to teach those kids how to become firemen and policemen to fill those positions. And we got to work together to some
And people
extent.
to illustrate the point that he was just talking about, what y'all are bringing to the table. We have people move here from all kinds of other counties because they like us better than where they were.
Until we find out that we don't get a tax break.
No, they know of it. Now, the reason that we put so many charts and graphs on the wall in our facility is to show you all kinds of other counties that have got a lot of this extra growth and things like that. It illustrates what he just educated you on. It doesn't pay for itself. Every one of them that has all these extra things, their tax base does not go down, it goes up. Their tax rate, their liability. So if you're a property owner in those areas, it becomes more, but it's an illustration of what he just explained to you.
Like I say, I won't object to paying more for the services.
Yes, sir.
Not really a question, but I know I answered this gentleman or tried to earlier. I would just encourage people, when I read the progress, I get the impression people think this is a bad county for seniors on property taxes. I'd encourage you to look at the Department of Revenue's website. You can go county by county and figure out what is our exemption versus other exemptions. You can go all around us, and with the exception of Cherokee, we're more favorable for seniors. So, I'm not saying that's the right answer, but I don't think we should operate under the assumption that somehow, boy, life would be better if I moved to Gilmer. It wouldn't be. It would be paid more, and the senior exemption in Gilmer is less. The senior exemption to the west in Gordon is less. The senior exemption in Dawson is less. You could move south to Cherokee County, and you would have almost total senior exemption. But, you know, we need to operate off the facts, and you don't have to believe me, but look at the department's website. You can figure out what everybody's doing.
And one other quick illustration that I did not make earlier that goes on what Mark said. You'll notice I keep telling you we define senior as 62. After we did that, very few counties use 62. They usually start a base at 65, but most of them go up to 70 or beyond. So 62 is small compared to most local.
Give all 62-year-olds that deduction. Forget the 25,000. 62, you get the deduction.
And how much would it cost?
Could I ask Doctor a question? If we cut, and basically, according to the census, 16% of the population of Pickens County is over 65. If we cut that out and a school goes bad, what's going to happen to that school? Is the state going to take it over?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, sir.
And who's going to raise your taxes then?
If
You
we
won't
don't-
have anybody to go to.
If we don't meet the academic goals set forth over several years, then the state will come in and take over the school system. And then they will be the ones directing the taxes and things. That is a good point.
And while we're on the subject, how many of you people went to a public school? Who paid for it?
My parents.
I have
My
no
grandparents
children, and I'm
didn't.
still paying school taxes. I begrudge him a little, but somebody paid for mine.
Your
And
parents.
I could have gotten more if I'd applied myself.
What traditionally happens to property value if the school system tanks?
Property values go down.
Down,
They go
down.
How many schools in Georgia have actually been through that?
There have been a few taken over.
I think there's one or two in DeKalb now.
Do you grade your schools in Georgia?
I'm sorry?
Do you grade, this high school's an A school?
And was it on
Not
academics,
by-
or was it due to finances? Was it due to academics, or was it on financial considerations?
Most of them are taken over on performance.
Performance, academics. Okay.
But we are also
If you can't pay for
ranked,
it.
we are ranked on financial
You know something?
feasibility.
You don't have the tax radicals in this county. You haven't turned the 21st century. Okay? You're still in a time warp.
Well, I do want to, and I don't mean to offend anybody on what I'm about to say.
That's what spreads the whole burden amongst the county where you can.
It's like almost anything else, unfortunately.
You gotta be.
You get what you pay for.
Of course you do.
And if you want a great school system,
Like I brought out, this was
we have to pay
supposed
for
to
it.
be in the top 10 nation.
Yes, ma'am.
This is directed to Roy Dobbs.
I know.
I'm going to watch this when we start.
Sir,
I've seen the
this exemption, how will it affect our small businesses? Their tax rates will go up too.
Okay. That's the illustration that I'm trying to educate everybody on. Not just property owners, but elected officials also. My history of working with government hates to raise tax rates, okay, because of the 79% of people that know where they live, okay? And that's why I'm trying to illustrate this. Everybody gets into mathematics, but then they want a formula that makes mathematics more. But nobody's asking for more, everybody's asking for less. So what I'm trying to do is help educate everybody in the process. See what you're doing, there's a cause and effect for everything. And they may have some subsidized lunches, but people, there's no free lunch. Yes, sir.
So are you saying that if the exemption rate goes up,
Yes.
more than likely later on down the road, the millage rate will go up?
Automatically.
To cover it for all the other stuff?
Yes.
So either way, we're still gonna pay more property tax?
Yes, sir. But most people want less property tax, and that's what I'm trying to educate everybody.
Can you assure us that the property taxes on individual properties has been reassessed periodically to make up for changes in just property values and market values?
Actually, we keep up with it every year.
Every single year.
We're audited by the State Department of Audit. They don't just give us a report, they give it to Carlton, Wilson, and the school board members there. They give it to the governing authority to make sure that we're staying at those levels of compliance.
So in my neighborhood, if somebody's house sells and the cost per square foot jumps up, do comparable houses have their assessment increase?
If it's just one mean old neighbor, probably not. If it gets to be a trend of 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, then yes, it will probably trend upwards, and it usually is an effect that everybody sees.
And what's your rule for doing that, or is it?
When you look at what the property is being bought and sold for in the deeds, all of these auditors, Department of Revenue, Department of Audits, they go look at, okay, what's it on the digest for? We have to send that in to them. They measure it against that. We're also measuring it against that, so we can tell if it starts to get out of whack. We got a fancy computer that tell us that. But that's how we keep up with it. So when we come to you, when we come to your neighborhood, or go to a community and say, last year we did a rural land update. Hey, the numbers that we're seeing versus the numbers in the box need to be updated. So we updated all the rural land parcels last year.
And how long had it been before that was done before?
Depending on the area, some of them have been several years, but the market had not changed that much.
Okay.
But we've got ways of figuring that stuff out. Yes, oh, let me introduce this gentleman here. I was going to do it up front. This is Nelson Mattern, and he serves as a member of the Pickens County Board of Assessors. Thank you, Nelson. Ask your question.
I'm sorry I stood up. I've gotten to know Roy and Stephanie very well over the last couple of years, working with them with the board, on the Board of Assessors. This man and this lady know what they're doing. They've got to jump through hoops to make their numbers satisfy the State Department of Revenue. And they do it, and they do it superbly. And the one thing I didn't hear Roy say tonight was, my door is always open. You're going to get a flood now. But I've heard him say it many times, and that is, if you've got an issue with your property taxes, go in and talk to these folks, because they can give you all the information, and they'll give you the backup, and they'll show you how the calculations are done, and that the numbers that have to be satisfied as far as the State Department of Revenue is concerned. So I'm a senior, and I'd love to see a senior exemption, but right now we're just at the straw vote stage, and I guess Lee left, but we got a long road to hoe to get this, to get a senior exemption, so it's got to go through the straw vote step first. And while I'm on that subject, I had heard through the grapevine that the Democrats do not want it on the straw vote ballot in the spring, for whatever reason. I don't understand that, because this is not a partisan issue. This is a seniors issue.
Yes, amazing.
So, but anyway, having said that, I just wanted to say that Roy does a superb job, and Stephanie is his lieutenant, and I can't stand here or sit here and listen to him getting beaten up over some of these things when I know the job that he does. So I think he needs to
give him a hand.
Thank you,
People, I am an old country boy that was raised and educated here, and I'm going to talk to you pretty plain. Okay? I've learned that that's a pretty good way to do it. Don't never let me hurt your feelings. I'm just trying to communicate with you. Yes, sir.
On that slide 23 that you showed earlier about the millage rate going up over 20 years.
23.
Can you give me a percentage rate or a money figure of what that would kind of equal to?
If you were to go pull those publications, yes, you can.
You don't know?
No, what I'm trying to illustrate is, on those years.
I see that illustration. I just don't know what it means in money.
It means that no matter what you do, when you made those changes, the tax rate for every property owner escalates. And it don't escalate 1/10 of a point or 2/10 of a point. It goes up whole
It went
mills.
up 4.25% over that.
No, sir, no, sir, that's mills. That's a big change in the
Okay,
tax rate.
4.25 mils, I know that, I wanna know what that means in money.
A lot.
Thank you.
Well, any place you can go do that, you can come in, sit down with me, I'll pull up your rate, do a different millage rate and show you. Yes, sir, John.
Roy, I saw in your office a chart you had showing the tax rates of counties around us.
Yes, sir.
There was only one county around us that was higher? Is that my
You mean that the tax liability was less with the senior tax exemption?
No, it was just the tax rate, the millage
Oh,
rate
the millage rate.
of the surrounding counties. And if I'm not badly mistaken, there was only one county that was, the millage rate was,
Higher.
oh no, lower than
Lower.
us. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Lower in Pickens County. Everybody else was higher.
You heard me talking earlier about Union County, Towns County, Rayburn County, and previously White County. Those counties never fell for voting for local exemptions like we did. Their millage rate, their millage rates are lower by far. We're at 23.5, which is low compared to the counties around us. Dawson County is neck and neck with us, but those counties are much lower. The reason is, when you take the exemptions away, you're spreading the liability more evenly for everything that's less, and your rate goes down. It's simple math.
And that's not only for residential, that's for commercial, that's for
Every
industrial.
piece of real estate, yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any idea what percent of the tax digest in Pickens County consists of properties in Bentry and Big Canoe?
I do. And I've actually got a chart back in the office. Okay. Got the mayor of Jasper here, the metropolis of Jasper. Jasper's part of the digest is about 11 to 12% of our whole digest. Okay? Bentry. Bunch of residential properties up there in them hills. They're about 9%. Big Canoe, Pickens County side, is around 12 to 13. Now, the way I've always looked at it, if you took the two biggest residential areas in the county, Bentry and Big Canoe, the most concentration of rooftops, lots, people, and everything, it's around 1/4 of the digest, which means the rest of the county is the majority. But they got that in a small area.
Roy, how much of that in the city, 11% is of business property up down the 4-lane or inside the city?
The business properties are the majority of the work. I hear everybody talk about we haven't grown. How many people lived here for 20 years? Have y'all seen it change around here? It ain't just me. People, we got stuff we never dreamed about. And there's more stuff coming. Businesses come. Mayors and city councils and commissioners don't keep them out. I'm sorry to fuel that thing. The businesses come and they buy property and they build because their business model tells them the demographic wants you to do it. They're selling so many chicken biscuits over here, the parking lot's full over here, we're going to go build a new structure to take advantage of that. I work with businesses every day that are doing that. We never dreamed about a Walmart, a Kroger, a Home Depot. That was Clarence Burgess's cow pasture just a couple of years ago. Okay? We are growing. We're going to continue to grow. The Brave Stadium is down Main Street from us. When they turn the lights off at night, do you think those people are going to drive back to Atlanta around 285? They're coming north. The casino in Murphy You would not believe the number of people that are coming into this area for that one thing, because it's a day trip now. We continue to grow, and we're gonna continue to grow.
Where is big business that can bring employees and keep our students here in the county?
Those businesses that I just named. We started out with a company called Pickroy several years ago. They put a manufacturing facility behind the Quick Burger on the other side of the railroad tracks that employs a tremendous number of people. We've got a marble company that employs a tremendous amount of people. Carlton school system employs a tremendous amount of people because they've got such a large physical plant that he was telling me about. We are not a sweatshop labor-friendly place. We don't have the sweatshop level labor that it would take for that, okay? They go to more urban areas. But everything else is coming our way. We might have to be a little bit patient, but people, the businesses that are looking to locate like lower taxes, they like the fact that we haven't destroyed this area yet. That's a big plus. And we do have an interstate running through the middle of the county. So it's coming. And have you ever seen a Jeep Fest? Who would have thought?
How many people does the Jeep Fest employ?
Volunteers.
I'm gonna tell you what, the Jeep Fest is one of the best indicators of where this county is going. When you hear me talk about community all the time. That's what built this place. That's why everybody's coming here. We're doing a good job at building a community. Jeep Fest is done by the sheriff's department with so much volunteer labor, it is unreal. And you got families coming from everywhere to play and enjoy Pickens County, Georgia, and spend money. And then they go home. That's good growth.
You were going to tell us how much of the city of Jasper's business portion of the revenue?
Okay, thank you, Mary Ellen. Follow up on Mark's question. The majority of value is the interstate property. The other values in Jasper are older, more modest homes. Those, except for some. But anyhow. But seriously, most of the housing in Jasper is from the 30s, 40s, 50s, and some more historic than that. That's not the biggest part of the value. The biggest part of the value is the commercial growth and development. There are new subdivisions, Arbor Hills. Arbor Hills is a large subdivision in the city limits of Jasper. It added quite a bit.
But that was in Talking Rock. It's in Talking Rock, isn't it?
Now don't pay attention to what your postal service tells you. It's in the city limits.
Talking Rock Post Office is in the corporate limits.
Yes.
Talk about something that these folks don't think about a lot, but I'm very uneducated. I barely made it through the 12th grade. There was one of the teachers.
I apologize.
Was that the reason? That's what I'm trying to get better. Anyway, inventory tax. What % of our tax revenue, does that go to any school at all?
Okay, good question. When you look at Walmart, Home Depot, Ingles, Kroger's, AWH, Royston, Pickroy, new tire companies on the interstate, these places not only pay on their land and their building, they also pay on their personal property, okay? We're talking about an inventory value of machinery, equipment, furniture, fixtures, and inventory that is substantial. When I'm going over the digest at the end of the year and I see a tremendous growth, I'll say, Stephanie, she's my commercial personal property appraiser, I said, where is this coming from? And she'll start telling me about the different accounts. You would not believe the contribution to your tax digest from these companies, not just for their real estate, but for their assets annually too. Yes, sir.
What makes inventory grow as a professional in a local area like us? What would be a key component to make us have to have more?
More people, their tires going flat because DOT won't keep up with their highway.
Or more purchasing.
More purchasing,
and so shop at Ingles or Walmart.
And so all the vendors have to supply that inventory because that's what the customers are demanding. Does that answer that, Mark? Yes.
A lot of folks don't think of that stuff.
Yes.
Roy, would you say a few words about KnowPickens website?
Yes. Nelson mentioned earlier, I've got an open door policy, and anybody that knows me and has been there understands that. I won't even tell you to wait outside, come on in and sit down, because I ain't saying nothing on the phone that you shouldn't hear. I want you to sit down and get a load off your legs, okay? So we do that. The other thing that we do, and I was scared when we first did it, we did it in 2007, we contracted with a vendor for a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day a week. I think the new term is 24/7, 365. If your power's on and your computer's working, and you got that old internet thing, it's working that day, you can go on qpublic.net. You can pick Georgia, you can pick Pickens County, and you can start looking at your stuff. You can start looking at your neighbor's stuff, because that's y'all do that. You can look at aerial photographs, you can look at floodplain layers, you can get all kinds of information, and I tell you, I was scared when we first put it out there because I thought there'd be a lot of misuse. Here's what we've seen. Not only does it help people answer questions because they see it there, nobody's hiding it from them, you would not believe the professional sector that's doing work for you. On real estate closings, insurance deals, anything that you're dealing with a professional on, they're utilizing that. I have people call from all kinds of companies doing information for people, and they're giving the people grief because they need something. I say, do you have a computer? Well, yes, I do. I said, will you turn it on? And I said, if you go right there, you can print it out, and that's exactly what you're asking those people for. Because we've got your sales history, your deed books, your plats, and things like that. So KnowPickens has been one of the biggest public service tools that we've ever dreamed of. There's a little meat left on them bones, y'all. Just keep And this is the reason we wanted to come here tonight. We want to teach people what we've got, what ramifications are. We want the public, we want the elected officials to understand when they're making decisions about how we're going to operate, okay? Dancing with the stars, huh?
Thank you all for coming.